I asked Baker Mayfield in hour 1 month in, Caleb Williams gets your vote for the Heisman. Again, it's just 1 month in, and it's so rare back-to-back. Obviously, Archie Griffin's a name that keeps getting thrown around because it's been that long. Is it Caleb Williams' award right now, do you think, Bruce?
But, we're going to see it when, what happens if they lose to, and I'm sure it won't be his fault. He has one turnover this season. Now, he probably could have had a couple of picks in, previous games, certainly at ASU.
Yes.
But he's playing an incredibly high level. He's putting up ridiculous numbers. I mean, some of these other quarterbacks in the Pac-12 are also putting up ridiculous numbers, though. So there's a lot. We're not even at the midway point. Like, if you ask me, who do I think is going to win? I think Caleb is going to win it.
I do, too. I mean, it's just, again, I know how talented the other quarterbacks are that we're talking about, even in his own conference.
Yes.
But, I mean, he is a totally different cat than any of the other guys. Drake May, we could throw out all of these talented kids who can have terrific pro careers and maybe even beat this kid on Sundays. But, I mean, there's no two ways about it.
Well, he also has another factor. Because there's so much visibility, and one thing goes on with him is people look at his defense and go, oh, that's a terrible defense. And they've seen evidence. They didn't look good against Arizona State. They look really bad in the second half against CU. Mm-hmm. So people are going to go, hey, they may be a playoff team in spite of all that. I don't think people, last year Washington's defense wasn't great. It wasn't even very good. Now I think it's better. But again, Michael Penix, people think, and rightly so, that Oregon has a good defense. They do. But that's, Bo Nix is a legit candidate. It's also where the Heisman is set up. There are voting blocks, right? So it's like all those dudes are on the West Coast in that same, they may split some of the pie where it's not like there is no wow quarterback. Jaden Daniels is playing terrific at LSU, but they got 2 losses.
Yes.
Full respect to him. But somebody's going to get a lot of votes out of the SEC. They're all not going to be voting for these, 5 Pac-12 quarterbacks and split it up.
Interesting. Where do you think Caleb Williams wants to play next year?
If Washington was awful, I think it'd be go home and, but they're not, right? I mean, Sam Howell, who was a good college quarterback, I think they're seeing what's going on with him.
But I mean, I can't imagine Washington would pitch away what they're building right now to go trade a million draft choices to go get Caleb Williams. And I don't even think it's going to be possible because whoever wins the first overall choice, and by win, I understand it requires losses, but it would be a W to get that. So all I'm saying is no one's going to trade that pick.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
Whoever probably has the first pick probably would have a new quarterback, new coach.
To go along with Caleb Williams?
Well, I'm just saying you might be looking for a new coach. I think if you're that bad. If you are,
right,
do you certainly make a run at Lincoln Riley and his offense?
We've been talking about that a million times off cameras. We might as well bring it out in front of the microphones.
Why wouldn't
Hell
you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? And then if he doesn't come.
Would he come?
I don't know. I think at some point down the road, I think he will coach in the NFL. That's my own he's never told me that, but that's my gut because I think he's a guy who I think is obsessive when it comes to like X and O's and kind of stuff. And I think you see that translate in a lot of guys, whether it's Mike McDaniel or Shanahan or McVay, a bunch of guys, KOC, same thing, where I think he would be like, let's see how this is going to work now. But the one I wondered about was, who's on that staff right now is Cliff Kingsbury.
Right.
And Cliff obviously has had a lot of great quarterbacks. He had Patrick Mahomes. Now he's working or helping work with Caleb. If you're an NFL team, do you look and say, all right, I know it didn't go great with the Cardinals. It wasn't a disaster. I say question mark.
No.
But
I know what you're saying. Obviously, that was a fire of some sort in Arizona. Might be dumpster or a different type of fire, but and I'm sure Kingsbury would learn from whatever mistakes he was involved with there. But in terms of a coach of Lincoln Riley's caliber and also resume, they know, in the same way that my current coach at Michigan knows, when you go to the NFL and if you pitch away a remarkable situation at the collegiate level, you want three things. You want full control of your roster. You want an owner that isn't nuts, that knows how to run an operation and is completely stable. And the third thing is the quarterback. So if Lincoln Riley does make the leap and somebody goes and offers him the Godfather offer to make him leave USC, he knows he's got the quarterback and he knows he's got control of the operation. As long as it's a spot that the owner is stable and his family wouldn't mind living, isn't that the end of the story? I mean, why wouldn't he do that if he wants to go to the National Football League? That's my 2 cents on that subject matter.
Yeah, and it depends where it is, because I know he has a young family and I know them, and I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, hey, we're going to up and move over here.
Yes.
I think maybe I'm being naive. I genuinely think that is a real consideration for him.
Of course it is. I mean, it's life.
Yeah, and look, I think you guys heard Rich use the word my current coach, as opposed to like he will probably be a hot commodity.
Hey man, I'm living in reality here.
Yeah.
I'm not living in La La Land. The last 2 years,
he's the one guy like who actually he spent a ton of time playing in the NFL, and he has a great record as an NFL head coach.
He sure does.
So
hell yeah. I mean, and again, I love him. I don't want Jim to ever leave.
But if he leads you to a national title this year, then you're patting him on the back and going, hey, you did everything.
Well, I would pat him on the back no matter what. I really would. And that's, I'd being dead honest with you, because obviously, for many reasons, one, that he was my first quarterback when I went to Michigan when I was a freshman. That was his last year there. And so I have, and what he has done, what is happening right now, despite the last 2 winters with me on the razor's edge, wondering if he's coming back. That said, it would be great if it won a national championship and he wants to leave. I also couldn't blame him if, the McCaskies call him up and say, we just got the first and second overall picks because of the way everything worked out with our season and Carolina's season. How would you like to leave Michigan and coach here for Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. and everybody else that we've got here? And you can bring in your general manager, with all due respect to Ryan Poles. Would he say no to that?
I don't know how he could.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially if he wins a national title, then it's like, hey, my work is done here.
That's how special this kid is. That's what I'm thinking while I'm watching him. It's so rare to see somebody as talented as him in a program like USC, right? That has him and are playing significant games and can go to a college championship on a championship run, knowing that's the first overall pick of the upcoming draft. It's so rare. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was something similar to that.
I don't even think I think Trevor Lawrence was a terrific quarterback prospect. I don't think Trevor Lawrence was this guy. I really don't. And like I would say this, I can't even use the language. So there's a college coach I know who's fairly like many of them, very cynical. I mean, he was just raving about him the other day when we were talking about something else in words that was like, he was like, he's amazing. And this is a guy I don't hear usually talk about college players this way.
Mahomes is the name that gets thrown out. I had again.
Patrick
Baker
wasn't this good in college.
That's what we've been saying,
right?
Yeah.
And we asked Baker Mayfield in the first hour that, hey, if you'd vote for Caleb for the Heisman again, he says yes. And I'm like, well, Mahomes is the name being thrown around. Would you agree with that as an assessment? He said, absolutely. He didn't stutter. So, again, that's why I asked you where would he want to play? Like he's seeing maybe the landscape going on right now in the NFL. It certainly isn't college. I know what his dad said, right? Like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, look, you get to start your clock for the second contract. You can have injury insurance, but at the end of the day,
right?
Like you do run the risk. He's holding the ball for a while. He's extending plays. I mean, he did. It was a hamstring injury that really hurt him at the Pac-12 title game.
Right.
But like, I think the people around him have to know if you do get hurt and it is a position where you're going to take hits. Is that something you really want to risk for another season? Where it's like, okay, you want to get to the NFL. Also, you'll have had 3 years with Lincoln Riley. Obviously, Lincoln's terrific with quarterbacks, but like, is the benefit that much greater? I mean, that's a question for another day. But.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.